Very excited for the first panel for today, Build Your Community, right? And so myself and Malik have 4 awesome panelists that are getting ready to come out here. I will bring them to the stage now, not to waste any time. First up, my man Corey, Flex Artis, marketing and branding specialist, based here in Dallas, Texas. Man, is helping change the game for business owners. Y'all welcome Flex to the stage.
Woo!
Flex, I need you to take a shot, bro. No, like a shot, either. You take a shot here or you take a shot there on your way to the stage. You only get one shot.
Black.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Black on black.
Nah. My jumper better.
Next up, we got the CEO of Reach TV, my brother, Mr. Lynnwood Bibbens. Welcome, Lynnwood, to the stage.
On these black wheels and this black wheel, put this black.
All right,
Yes, sir.
All right, Lynnwood, so, you got to do the same thing. You either take a shot here or a shot here.
My skin is so black, I'm rocking all black, everything is black. Rims on these black wheels and this black wheel.
Flex made his. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it was cash.
It went in. I don't know how it made it.
I think the bank was open.
Oh!
The bank
He went easy with it.
Won't be no truce. Funeral in an all black suit. Couple white girls rocking all black too. Me and man marching
All right, now bring it to the stage. We have Dessie Brown Jr., head of digital programming at Genius Entertainment. You might see him on Instagram at Dessie. Thank you. Now, brother, you know what it is. You want the shot?
Yeah.
We out here.
Go ahead.
Pop that open. Okay.
Yeah. Black on.
Oh, see, we out here. We growing sexy.
black on black.
Okay, big dog.
Black on black. My skin is so black.
My man, salute.
The streamer. There we go. Right there. See his hand up in the back. There you go.
Black on black. My thoughts so black. Black on black. My skin is so black. I'm
Dope.
rocking all black, everything.
All right, now, also coming to the stage, we have David C. Williams, author, innovator, owner, executive. You might see him on Instagram at David Chris Global. Now, what shot we taking?
Take the shot or the shot?
Oh, I thought you want both.
Years of oppression, I'm about to give me that.
Oh, that's what we doing?
Black skid marks on the pavement.
He said, he's Chef Curry with the rap.
Right,
Master
right.
Juba with the tap dance, Gucci with the dapper dance. Tell him kiss my black.
Hey, but he went for it though. I'm just gonna commend him because he went for it. Like,
I love
the
it.
fact that he went for it. Well, thank you, brothers. Thank you, brothers, for joining us on this Build Your Community panel. Right. First thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open you up. Make sure everybody's mic is on. Test 1, 2. There you go. So I'm gonna start here and work our way down because we're gonna get right out the gate, right? Flex, why is it important for you to have a community and build a community in your own individual space? And I'm gonna ask that same question. We're gonna ask that all the way down because you're all in different lanes, right? From a marketing perspective, from a media perspective, from a branding perspective, and from a tech. Bring it back to my people perspective, right? Like, why is it important for community and all the things that you guys do?
I think it is super important because there has to be an infrastructure, right? And it's important to connect with people and build and to be able to share thoughts, information, resources. You can't do it alone sometimes. So I think it's super important to have a community.
I'm gonna go right at it. It's
Powerful.
important for me because it makes money. At the end of the day, our community and our culture drives pop culture, which drives pop culture and drives money, drives GDP, drives how people consume everything. So our community and our culture capturing that is the key to me being successful.
I feel that community is very important. If you've ever seen Dame Dash kind of talk about the goal was for everyone to become millionaires or billionaires. And if you have the right community, recently I was just looking at the Black Godfather, Clarence Avant. And one thing that he mentioned was, he said, I don't have problems, I have friends. And so
Powerful.
Building a community that way is super important because sometimes your friends may have to lean on you. Sometimes you may have to lean on your friends. But if you have that community from a business standpoint and also from a personal standpoint, then it's really, really important to your success.
Look, man, I'm from South Dallas, so this year Halloween fell on I'm saying. So look, you know, there's one thing in the world that is born, it never walks, it runs, it chases you, you're chasing your entire life, and if you never catch it, it'll haunt you your entire life, and that's your dreams. And so the work that I and others I partner with in the community, you know, we hold solar robot workshops. I partner with Nancy Lieberman, her dream course, creating some tech-enabled courts. We do that so that we can give these children a chance to reach their dreams. It's so many of us in our community today that suffer from childhood traumas and all sorts of mental things because we never took the courage to go attain our dreams, to go after our dreams. And so I feel like it's important for us to do that because the only way we leave a legacy is it's got to be somebody that lives beyond my lifetime to carry that forward.
Powerful, powerful.
I think, you know, Lynnwood, I'm gonna start with you on this question, right? So you talked about it from a revenue perspective, and you've been very vocal and very adamant around why you started Reach, right? As a way for you to be able to provide the creators what they earn and what they deserve, right? So from your perspective of thinking about that, you know, you've taken this perspective of empowering creators. For you, you know, as you build this community, why is that important long term to your goals of your organization?
I mean, I want to find the next Spike Lee. I want to find the next Tyler Perry, the next whoever. And sitting inside of Hollywood and sitting in the film and the finance side of it, I saw that they didn't respect or really want to empower us in that community. So we had to get rid of the gatekeepers who really don't understand our community, just want to profit off it. So we had to build something so that the person that says yes is me. I don't need anybody else's permission, so we could do what we want to do. By doing that, you empower younger kids, and we're doing stuff with black creators for short films, and we're saying to them, hey, you know what? You wrote it. We'll put a director and a producer around you. These are things that we need to help somebody attain their dream, right? It's just we don't have the infrastructure always around us, so then other people are able to take our stuff and do other things with it. So I think it's important from a community standpoint. It's funny you mentioned Clarence Avon. I'm friends with a bunch of guys in that film, and you know I just watched it the other day. I like watching it because it reminds me that you know you're me and Biggs always talk about this. It's not about transactions, it's about relationships. And if we start to build more relationships in our community, you know, the transactions will come.
You are the next Tyler Perry.
Clap that up.
Yes.
Clap that up. I love it. So, pivoting off that idea, you said we're not talking just about transactions, we're talking about relationships. Dessie, I wanted to talk to you about, I know for me at least, when I was growing up, like a lot of young black boys, I wanted to be a rapper. I wanted to be a ball player. I wanted to be an entertainer. And this is actually me giving you a lot of respect. You're actually none of those. However, you're the connection between them all. How have you been able to build a network, a coalition, a community with those industries throughout your time?
And I appreciate the kind words, but that's exactly what I stand for. Because I go and speak at high schools, middle schools, grade schools, colleges sometimes. And the most important thing to me is representation, right? And so you said you wanted to be a rapper or an athlete growing up. And I had those same dreams as well. But everyone may not be successful in those spaces, but the way I've kind of built up my network is by still saying, okay, I'm passionate about music, but I don't have to be the star. I could prop up the other music stars. Or, you know, I've been blessed to work with Tom Joyner. I was Tom Joyner's assistant, so I flew around the world on a private jet. Like, I'm the same place he at, you know what I'm saying? But I always say that I'm right off camera. You know, Marcellus Bennett is another great friend of mine that I've worked with for years that won a Super Bowl. So I'm right there at the Super Bowl. And then currently, I work for Marseille Martin's production company. And so she's a icon. She just turned 18, but I'm getting to be a part of her journey. And so it's kind of the same thing. No matter what you're passionate about, there are other jobs around it. A lot of times when I go into schools and I talk about it, I say, hey, like, we've never seen Jerry Jones throw a football, but yet we've seen him around from Troy Aikman to Tony Romo and to now Dak Prescott.
Yep.
And the same way with Mark Cuban. We ain't never seen him hoop outside of playing around. But if you're passionate about basketball, you can own a team. You could be a manager. You could be a coach. You could be a referee. You could work in the marketing department. So there are other ways to make a living within those passions, but you don't have to actually be the star. And typically those other jobs are the ones that last longer. You can last 30, 40 years in that, whereas the average NFL career may be 3 years. Right. NFL, not for long. So just think about that.
I like how you said that, and the key point that you hit on that I want to ask both Flex and David is around the empowerment perspective of that, right? And so what you're doing is you're empowering other people to see themselves in these industries without having to be the star player in these industries and make a good living, a very nice living out of it. And so first, I'll start, David. We talk about empowerment in your community, right? Black in tech is special, right? It's taboo, and it's not taboo because it's something that we just don't do. It's something that's not brought to us. And I love what you're doing, but going into the hood, going into the communities, and bringing that technology to them to empower them. Now, you told me something about your shoes. How do you use the shoes as a way to begin empowering this community to break that mold? And then how do you continue foreseeing what you're doing as empowering for them? And then Flex, I'll ask you the same question as you empower business owners in that same regard.
Yeah. So great question. When I won a Black Engineer of the Year award in 2021 for work that I did in 2020 so that 40,000 people could work from home during the pandemic. When I won that award, I feel it'd be crazy to be aloof and let the award sit on the shelf and get dusty. So I went straight to the hood and started having these solar robot workshops, and I partnered with community engagement groups to do so. When you go to the hood, though, you go into school, the kids are real. And, a lot of kids are too cool for school. And so I would come in with some, silly or, dumb tennis shoes, some custom or something, because I know that's what you feel in shoes, it's tennis shoes. And so I would be able to catch it, figure out who's the coolest in the room. Let me go break the ice with them, and the rest of the kids fall like dominoes, and then we're going to have a good solar robot workshop, But something that I try to impress upon them is two quick things, is that one, look, it's nothing wrong with wanting to be an athlete or any of that kind of thing, but in STEM, you don't have to make the draft, right? It's hard to make the draft to cash in on it.
You got to say that again. You got to say that.
Bar.
Yeah, look, it's cool to be a running back, a quarterback, a point guard, a 3 or 4, or 2, whatever, but it's hard to make the draft. In STEM, you don't have to make the draft. And it gives you more opportunities to go do some things, as well as, a lot of us are anomalies, Some of us want to be astronauts and in cosmetology. I'm not going to tell you that can't happen. Video's a new print. I wouldn't be surprised if astronauts wish they could get their hair done, right? And I met a few astronauts, and I actually have a patent that works on satellite technology. Listen, you can be an anomaly. You can go do that thing. And tech is not so taboo because we have something that's ingrained in us, which is problem solving. Big Mama taught us how to make $1 out of 15 cents. That's a 600% ROI. If a CFO could make $1 out of 15 cents, that CFO would be CEO, right? And so we have that in our bloodstream. We just have to have the courage to not leave it in the parking lot and take it into the office with us.
Yeah, clap that up, please.
Now, Flex, again, as a business coach, as a motivator, as someone who tries to bring out the best in his clients, right? How does that empowerment or what you're doing empower them? What does that do for you that you're the one that's leading them and empowering them to do better within their business?
It's really everything for me. I love genuinely helping out people and seeing businesses grow and strategizing with them from a marketing standpoint, from a brand standpoint, and then from a sales standpoint. At the end of the day, like he brought up here, it got to turn into dollars and make money. And so it does a lot for me. I produced a conference in 2019, and two of the people that was on the panel I grew up with, I used to play basketball with. And after the panel, they never knew each other. They spoke on the same panel. And a year later, they started a company together, and that company generated $27 million in 1 year. And I was like, whoa, like, all from just, putting them both on a panel together. And so that empowerment standpoint and connecting that aspect with them together, now they're able to, build some generational wealth for themselves and their family. And so empowering businesses is everything for me. I'm actually launching an organization in December that's specifically centered around, it's called the Trailblazers, the Trailblazers Mastermind Club. When you think of a trailblazer, you think of somebody who's a pioneer, a thought leader, someone who goes a path that, hasn't been taken before. And so the Trailblazers is essentially going to be a group of individuals and companies where I'm looking to empower them and grow, and also them empower me as well, and water within each other and build that community aspect of things and that infrastructure.
I like where you went with that at the end there, to empower you as well, right? One of the things we talk about with community, one of the things that we should understand with community is not one way. Community is typically, it's a loop, right? I have my responsibility and role within it, you have your responsibility and role within it, and we all work together. But it's not just a one-way street where I'm just pouring into you and feeding into you at all times. I rely on you within the community. I rely on you to feed into me, to pour into me, because there's going to be some times, especially as black men, especially as us here, it's going to be times where, every light is turned off. Every no has been given to you. Every door has been closed. And you never know what that one voice from Lynnwood is saying, hey, bro, you got it. Don't even worry about it, right? Just having that little last part of that, what that does for us as black men from the community perspective, it shouldn't always be one way.
No, I think that's powerful, because in the Black Man Can, one of the words that our ancestors have given us is the word Ubuntu, meaning I am because we are, to exactly what you're saying, to exactly what we're hearing here. I am because we are, and we are because I am. My success is your success, and we're linked. And if we understand that, right, that it's not an expense, it's an investment. And that investment I will see, or the people who perceive me will see, our community will see. I think about how important that is. So shifting the conversation to maybe a little, go ahead, Ken.
I want to piggyback off that, what you just said. Your success is my success and vice versa, right? Unfortunately, a lot of times in the black community, we don't feel that way. We feel like there only can be one, when that's not really the case. There's enough money out here for all of us to not just survive, but actually thrive. When you talk about, like, if you think about the music industry, typically, I was just talking to some brothers about St. Louis earlier, and like, if people realize that, like, when somebody like a Nelly gets signed in St. Louis, the record labels are going to find 100 other Nellies in that same market. I know a lot of times people are kind of waiting on, like, a city like Dallas to properly blow up, but it's a lot of dissension. Whereas, like, in Atlanta, where most people work together, so, like, say like a Future was super hot, and then he kind of had a lull, but once again, he had that community, so he may be on a Migos record or another record that kind of keeps him afloat or gets him back hot, and now he's hot again, and now he's able to bring up the next. So, just realize that it's enough money for all of us, and there are opportunities for us to work together, and information is also super important. We should share information more, as opposed to just taking that information and running away with it by ourselves.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
So, Dessie, I'm glad you leaned in on that point, brother. In the corporate space, I would say all too often the glass ceiling is tinted. It's us holding each other back. Somebody made it to the C-suite, you can't come either. Or maybe you can come, but you can't come in the room. Or you can come in the room, but you can't sit at the table. You can sit at the table, but you can't have a voice. Or you can have a voice, but only speak when spoken. We're playing these games with ourselves. When you talk about community, Ubuntu, this is a direct violation of these things, right? And so we got to get to a place where we truly understand, look, collective success is simple. It's not easy, but it is extremely simple, okay? They used to talk trash about Hispanic people and how many lived in a house. 20 years later, they own the whole block. Okay? The simple formula is that 1 and 1 makes 11. And that's how you get further faster. You just got to get close enough together to do something exponential together. And that is how we grow the pie. That's how we bring our community up, is that we're not shielding and preventing those from rising. We're not just trying to help you come up, but not as high as I am, because then you just my entourage, and I don't want you to, like, no, we're not playing those games anymore. That type of life, that's what's canceled. If anybody wanted to know what needs to be canceled, that is it.
I think, and I want to pose this question to you, Lynnwood. Representation matters, right? Representation matters. Just that simple statement. What does that mean to you?
It goes back to the conversation they're having right now. I mean, I sat in the rooms where we came in, since we can be blunt and honest here, where we would come in, I'm financing, and we would talk trash about another one of us. And I would stop meetings and say, can we talk outside? I'm like, I'm the one financing. You don't need to do that. Those days are over. Stop. Come back in and talk great about that person, because I just finished a meeting with him. So you can't come in this room trashing him.
Right.
So, you know, but that, they'd never seen that before. They never had me sitting in that room. So if I wasn't sitting in that room, you know, and I got lucky on somebody taking a chance on me. I came from a totally different industry. I was in tech and hardware, and I sold my company and was like, all right, what else is out there? And somebody I was friends with introduced me to somebody, and she was like, yo, you should come in. You're just too smart. You got to come in and help me. And then I just started doing it. Next thing I know, I'm financing over $2 billion in film and television. But I was in the room watching.
Clap that up.
And bluntly speaking, we did it all the time. I will tell you, it changed about 5-6 years ago. And you have companies like Macro, you have Kevin Hart, you have all these people who are actually now looking to help each other. And I've seen that change, and the change came from one thing. I'm going to tell you what I saw in Hollywood was Tyler Perry had all these movies coming out. Lionsgate was his partner. I don't care if they hear it or not. And they said to him, we don't sell black films overseas. And you know, he was mad about his international monies. If you look up a film called Violent, it's Kevin Hart and Ice Cube. Did like $100 million a year. Did $3 million international. That makes no damn sense. Because at the same time, Kevin Hart was selling out Wembley Stadium and everything else. This little ass dude selling out a stadium to sell comedy, but he can't sell a theater? Come on. Come on, right? That just didn't make sense. And so you started to get everybody in Hollywood who was black saying, you're right. We make money overseas. Look at we don't call them old school hip hop anymore. Call them classic hip hop artists, because classic more valuable. But classic hip hop artists, they make more of their money internationally now, not here. So we have value around the world, but they were trying to take our value and so they could put us in a box. So the representation is somebody understanding how that system works, understanding the rights window, can help educate us so that we can walk in a room and be empowered. That's the part for representation for me is most important, is so that we understand what we're actually doing. And I'll end it with this by saying, to me, the number one thing that we must do is our own work. Right? Do the damn work. I did a conference, and I publicly said, send me an email, I'll send you a business plan. 85 people emailed me for a business plan. And I sent every single one a business plan. Empty. You know how many people sent one back? 2. That's on us.
Right.
That's on us. Yeah. Do the work. Yeah. There's a reason those plans are built, because if you follow that plan and you actually do all the work in there, you can actually win. And that ends, the ending of that is, that drives me nuts, is no business was successful overnight. Even if it works, it's still something comes up later, right? And this Instagram, stories of life has made people think that if they start a business today, it has to be successful in 30 days. No, the average business is successful in 7 to 10 years. 7 to 10 years. Plan that way. Yeah. And if we plan that way, we can build something together, because then you look for partnerships and strategic partnerships. And how do I grow, and how do I talk about marketing? But if you're doing it for tomorrow, it ain't gonna happen. You ain't gonna look for anybody else. You're gonna look individual. That's the problem.
I love it. And spoken like a true OG, right? So I'm gonna come down just a little bit further. You an OG to your people, but you a little younger to the rest of us, right? No, but
Young
Flex,
OG.
from your perspective, right? Again, representation matters. Like I can even see, kind of from your perspective, how is seeing people in positions that you're achieving, and doors that you're walking into now, how does seeing people that look like you did they give you the confidence to be able to know you can tackle those things, or what did representation do for you?
Man, it's crazy that you say that, because yes, 100%. I remember back in 2017, I attended the Revolt Summit in Miami, and I'm from Dallas, and born and raised here in Dallas. And so when I attended the Revolt Summit in Miami, I walked in the room and it's nothing but majority black people, and everybody knows who Diddy is, but there's also a lot of people that works with Diddy or works for Diddy that are also powerful as well. And so to see these different people in different positions, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And it really inspired me. It inspired me, and it made me want to bring that back to Dallas. And that's why I came up with my ideal of DreamCon, which stands for Dallas Recognition of Entrepreneurs and Artists Magnified. And I wanted to put together that conference for entrepreneurs, professionals, artists, creatives, to have something that was here, that was black, that was for our people, and bring in representation of people who are successful in different industries, and bringing that representation. Because what it did for me was it literally inspired me to be like, no, we it, and be unapologetically black. I made a post like months ago, and because it really hit me that, years ago, sometimes when you get in different rooms when there are majority white people, you may kind of change yourself a little bit to try to, I guess, appease to them, right? And and when it was an event and it had unapologetically black, and I was just like, yeah, we got to be unapologetically black. We got to be ourselves, and it's so important to be yourself. And it's also important to have that representation, because you really start to see we are the people, we are the culture, we literally we run the world. And white companies, when they look for selling anything, they come to us. When they look for trying to push anything, market, advertise, they come to us. And so it's definitely important to, again, have that representation. And also realize that, it's something within you. It's something in our skin. It's something in our melanin, in our soul. We the chosen ones. So, yeah.
No, I appreciate that. Just the thought around attending something, seeing other people. Like, we're motivated a lot by us as a community, and to your point, it's why they market to us so much. We're motivated a lot by what we see. Like, what we see stimulates us more than a lot of other people, right? And so us seeing that, seeing President Barack Obama, no longer can black kids say, oh, I want to be president, and somebody tells them, no, you can't do that, right? Now they can. Yes, you can.
Because they used to say that.
You know what I mean?
Man,
what'd you
listen.
say?
Because they used to say that.
Yeah, they
you
did.
could be a doctor,
Oh, yeah.
maybe an astronaut, president.
Yeah, right. They put a ceiling on us, kind of coming back to this proverbial glass ceiling, right? And then I'll say, Dessie, you hit on somebody that I feel like might be the representation that you strive after with Clarice Avon, of somebody that's a connector that's just behind the scenes. And again, extremely successful, extremely connected, extremely well off. But you didn't have to spend the time in front of the camera, right? So asking the same question to you, how important is representation for you, black father, right? I know your daughter's here with you, right? How important is that representation?
Yeah, representation not only as, as black people, as a black man, but also, I am a girl dad, so that representation truly matters to me as well. I remember one day, it was right before Father's Day. My daughter, she likes basketball and stuff like that. So one day I'm flipping through the channel and we see a WNBA game. And so I'm like, look, they playing basketball. She's like, I never seen girls play basketball before. And that's something that we don't really think about. So for Father's Day, you know where I took her? I took her to the Dallas Wings game against the Sparks. Got courtside tickets.
There you go.
Shout out to the Wings for looking out for me. but I wanted to make sure that she sees that. And so now I'm really, I pay attention even more, not only for representation for the black community, but also representation for black women as well.
You the GOAT for that.
Powerful.
Now, from one GOAT to another GOAT over there at Black and Tech, man, I mean, again, you're opening the space where, you know, I remember my most difficult subject in school was science. And it was just because it was. Mathematics, bro, easy. I got almost 800 on my SATs in mathematics, right? I think I missed like 3 questions. But science, the two of them coming together for me just wasn't it, right? Now, granted, had I seen somebody like you that might have came to this, and I wonder if my dad remembers this, my dad's in the audience. The only teacher I ever had that doubted me verbally was my science teacher. He said something in the class, and I raised my hand. He's like, you know, that's not even you. You ain't supposed to be in here. Wow. I went home that day, told my dad, oh, no, he was at school. At school. He worked in the district, too, so I was like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But that representation, right? So this dude tried to put a limitation on me where I could be at because there was no representation for me in that space. I'm in a advanced science class in school. I mean, I wasn't an A student in science, but I did well enough to be in AP classes, right? And so with that, though, having a representation could have done something different for me, right? And so now you opening a lane, opening a space, and opening these minds of these young men, how important are you seeing the representation that you're offering them, right? You're teaching them robotics, bro. Like, seriously?
Yeah, you know, man, I'm going to try to hit these points real quick, brother. That's crazy that your teacher said that to you. You know, we have to use hate as rocket fuel, okay? Look, Jesus would have never became Christ without Judas. All them other cats could have left. He had to keep Judas close. So I want y'all to know that on your road to success, it's not going to be cool. They hated Michael Jordan when he was playing basketball, okay? You know, the solar robot workshops that I'm grateful to be able to deliver to kids. We started in Fraser Courts, Bonton, Dixon Circle, all of that. It caught some wind, it got on the news, all this other stuff. I found myself in India doing the same thing, right, around the world. In India, when they talk about generational wealth, it's a little different than we talk about it here in America. In America, we're talking about getting to the bag. Well, there's 5 generational wealths. It's not just one. It's not just financial. There's wealth of the mind, wealth of the household and the family, financial wealth, health wealth, and spiritual wealth. Now, mental health and mental awareness and all that wellness is known, so we know what wealth of the mind means. Wealth of the family, look, you go get the bag, do you really want to leave it to your kids? Do you really want to leave it to your family? Do you? Right? It's not always like that. Financial wealth, we know what it is. Health wealth, if you're not eating right, your kids probably not eating right. How short are those generations? Spiritual wealth, you know, there's this air in the, you know, this thought of, you know, get what you negotiate, not what you deserve. You've been that too far, karma's going to come get all of it. So we have to think about generational wealth a little differently. It's not just the bag. You got to go get it the right way. Otherwise, it goes right back. And, you know, when I think about in technology, you know, I've been fortunate enough to hire a lot of folks, a lot of black people. I promoted a lot of black women, black men, Hispanic men and women, Asian, LGBTQ, folks living with disabilities. And a lot of them did not have a traditional technology background. Right now, I got some PhDs, some neos in the matrix, all of that kind of stuff, right? But everybody doesn't have that. But everyone on the team knows that their greatest strength is each other, because you have, there is a wisdom, there is a logic that we are born with, being able to solve problems differently. Unfortunately, your science teacher didn't know what YouTube was, because they teach science beautifully. I can't wait till YouTube starts a true university. It's going to change the world. But everyone doesn't learn from a book, right? Some people learn differently. And if you can understand that and have some appreciation for it, then you can go find the next Tony Stark of telecom, right? And go do something exponential. But a lot of times folks aren't looking for that. So we have to, in our own communities, we have to take it upon ourselves to be intentional about taking a chance on somebody that maybe they don't fit all the credentials, but they got the passion. That's what we got to do. We have to be intentional.
And I want to jump in and talk about the technology piece of it as well. I try to pride myself on being an early adopter, and my goal just in entertainment overall is to be at the intersection of culture and technology. And so, you know, we mentioned like the metaverse a lot. We actually have a project with Marseille that's getting ready to drop probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks, which is a digital avatar wearables through a company called Genies, which is like $1 billion evaluated company. But it's like a lot of times we as black people, we've had experience with this technology. We may just didn't have anyone to explain it to us properly. Like when I talk about avatars in the metaverse, a lot of times I'll say, okay, if you remember The Sims or if you play Roblox or any game like this, then that's kind of like what the metaverse is. I'm like, if you don't understand what augmented reality is, we all remember when people were playing Pokemon Go, that was augmented reality. And then when you start talking about virtual reality, anything with a headset on, that's virtual reality. But if we don't have anyone that looks like us that can explain it in a cool way, then we may miss out on opportunities. I was having a meeting with Meta, which is the parent company of Facebook and Instagram in Atlanta, and they were telling me about how at some point there are going to be so many jobs within technology, but there may not be enough black people who understand how to do the job in order to get hired. So that's why I give it up to a friend of mine like Danny Martin with Exposure that's in that educational piece. Like, and we need to uplift brothers like that and connect, you know. So I've been trying to do my part to connect Danny with like a Meta or different companies like that. So that way we can make sure that these students that he's already teaching in the gaming industry can get some of the skill set that they would potentially need if they were to go work for Meta as well.
That's a great segue into my final question, right? And the reason why is because the way that you prefaced that, we don't know what we don't know when we can tie those pieces together, right? Augmented reality, virtual reality. We've done all these things. If you guys remember, there was this thing called MySpace that came out. You know, MySpace, I was hitting my stride. I was in high school.
Tom.
And, you know, one of the things about MySpace that made it real easy was that, or really, really cool when I look back on it is, bro, I was coding. I'm making my own page, right? I go and I find out, okay, if I put this here, I get the background that's got the little things falling in the background. Then if I want to have the music, you know, so I got to put this other code in here, this. If I want to change the colors, I need to put this code in here to change the colors. But a parent I had, I don't think it was my dad, it's probably my mom's. They was like, you need to get off that social media stuff. And they cut off my blessing to learn engineering. So I say that to say, like, I want to ask this last question to everybody on the panel. I'll start with you, Flex. What was the worst piece of advice you've ever received?
The worst piece of advice?
Yep. And I say that to say, because if my mama didn't say get off that social media, I could probably own a few companies now because of my zeros and my ones and my zeros and my ones.
That's kind of hard for me because I kind of look at everything as like it was supposed to happen, you know? I just got that type of mentality. But what I will say, something recently that, actually I do have something. So when I graduated college, I became a mortgage loan officer assistant, and I was working to get my license. And I was the only black person in the office working for the #2 real estate company called Lennar Homes. And they had a mortgage company. And so before that, I didn't want to have a job at all. I didn't work throughout college. I was producing events. I was making money. My mom was like, you don't get a job? I was like, nah. And then I was like, my major was in entrepreneurship, marketing, and I minored in real estate. And so, on the real estate side, one of my frat brothers was like, you should look into possibly becoming a mortgage loan officer. So anyways, I ended up getting a job. Everything was working out. And, everybody's there. And I'm liking it. And a mentor of mine at the time, multi-millionaire, and he was like, you should quit your job. And because we were starting a tech company, actually, a startup. And, he was like, I can teach you how to make some money online, because that's where he made most of his money at, in digital sales. And so I was like, okay, cool. So he started to teach me, and, I was learning some things. But he was kind of like influencing me to quit my job. And me, I'm kind of like, I didn't want to work this job anyway, so, hey, maybe I should, right? And so, he ended up influencing me to quit my job. I quit my job, and a month later, I grossed like $30,000 in like online sales. I had never sold an online digital product. And I was making money, and after that, for like 6 months, I was making good money, and I was drop shipping products. That's what I was doing, drop shipping. And I literally didn't know that in China there was a holiday and their factory shut down for like two months. And so I started to like make money fast, and I was running ads and I was drop shipping, and I just it was overwhelming because I was selling so many products I couldn't keep up. People were emailing me, where's my product, da-da-da-da. Then I started getting chargebacks. Then I started getting more chargebacks. Then I started getting more chargebacks. And like, after all of a sudden, I lost like all of my money, and I literally had like maybe $200 some in my account. And I wish I would have never quit my job, because as a mortgage loan officer, it's somewhat like entrepreneurship, because, you're kind of dealing with your own clients, your own files and stuff like that. But I wish I would have kept that job to use it and leverage it to invest into my business rather than just flat out quitting. And so I haven't been back at a job since then, but what I will say, just as a piece of advice for anybody, if you are an entrepreneur, if you're looking to get into entrepreneurship and you have a business, I would say, ride your job as long as you can and figure out a way to, invest into your business. And then from there, eventually you can quit your job. But just, they say jump out in the water, but I don't know. Like, at the same time, just make sure that you're able to fully sustain your actual business before just quitting your job. So I would say that was some bad advice, but also helped me too.
I would just keep it simple. I learned this from my grandfather, to be careful about people's advice. He said, because most of the time you're getting somebody's advice, it's their shortcomings, not yours. So really understand who's telling you what, and I've kept that with me my whole life. So I listen to people, but if I've done the work, I really don't give a damn what you think. That's just how I am. My piece of, I hear it all the time. I probably heard it 10 times not to start this business.
Yeah.
And now the same people are the ones that email me and say, hey, so when we do this together? Yeah. I don't bring it up, but, I remember.
Yeah, for sure.
I would more say so, like, just the way of thinking from certain people, right? You know how they would say, jack of all trades, master of none, right? So years ago, they wanted people to only focus on one thing, or athletes should only focus on sports. And now, over time, you see, now they're saying, hey, you need multiple streams of income. So I've always had multiple interests and things like that. And I would say it's important to focus on, things one at a time, possibly. But the whole jack of all trades, master of none, that's not really the way it goes, because most millionaires and billionaires have several streams of income.
Try to keep it simple. Look, I think too often we tell each other to be safe. How about go be great instead of be safe? If you're here today, you're hunting. You're not hunted. You're not gazelles. You're lions, right? You don't need to worry about being safe. Go be great. And, somebody tried to tell me, oh, David, it's just not that simple. It's not that simple. It's more complicated than it is that simple. Those ideas and dreams that's nudging you in the middle of the night, waking you up all the time on your mind, it is that simple. It's not easy. But it is that simple. Go for it.
Powerful. So I guess with that question, NeAndre, what's the worst piece of advice you've gotten?
Stop coding. No, I think for me, just one of the worst pieces of advice. I know we got to get off this stage here to make room for the next group, but I think the worst piece of advice I ever got was get comfortable. Right? Find your space and get comfortable. But I find more joy in bursting out the seams, right? Finding new things that make me uncomfortable, because when you're uncomfortable, you grow, right? If you work out, I try to work out sometimes, and one thing I know about muscles, right, is when you use them and you work them out, you're just expanding them. Yeah. You're actually tearing them, and they're getting bigger, and you're expanding them, and you keep doing it. Well, if you don't, then they start to fall apart, and they get all this fat around them because you're not doing anything with them, right? So once you get comfortable in that, that's where everything starts to settle. So being comfortable.
Dope. I would say for myself, it would just be whenever I've performed and done something great, sometimes people want to ground you. And they say something like, well, make sure you stay humble because there's always somebody better than you. And it's like, no, mama. Somebody got to be the best.
I know that's right.
Somebody got to be the best, right? And just having that confidence and understanding that, I think Deion Sanders said it recently, don't let my confidence offend your insecurity.
Thank you, guys. In essence of the question, I do apologize because we are over time, and the next panel is waiting for us to get out of their way, even though they're not as phenomenal hosts or panelists as we are. Make sure you tell them that when they come out here.
Yeah,
no shade.
You can boom. You can boom.
But I will say for that question, we will be out in the lobby in between sessions, so definitely feel free to come out and ask it directly.
And big shout out to the band, too.
Yeah, shout out to
I
the
was
band.
a DJ. It's on. Show some love.
So, again, you guys give it up for our Build Your Community panel, Flex Artis, Lynnwood Bibbens, Dessie Brown, David Williams. Thank you guys for joining us, and thank you guys for tapping in with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now let's hear it for the Eighth Notes Band.